Good afternoon, this is the Chorus Call conference operator. Welcome and thank you for joining the Italgas 9 months 2021 results conference call. As a reminder, all participants are in listen-only mode. After the presentation, there will be an opportunity to ask questions. Should anyone need assistance during the conference call, they may signal an operator by pressing star and 0 on their telephone. At this time, I would like to turn the conference over to Anna Maria Scaglia, Head of IR. Please go ahead, madam.
Hi, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us. Today we will walk you through Italgas 9 months results. I'm Anna Maria Scaglia, Head of IR, joined by Mr. Paolo Gallo, our CEO, and Mr. Gianfranco Amoroso, our CFO. We will address any questions you might have at the end of the presentation. I leave now the floor to our CEO, Mr. Gallo.
Good afternoon to everyone. Paolo Gallo speaking. Let me start with the presentation saying that this is the 19th quarter of continuous growth. And I think it's a great achievement. We started that growth back in the first quarter of 2017. We are in the third quarter of 2021. And every quarter we were able to increase our result. And when I say our result, of course, I'm thinking about the net income, the net profit. Let me give you, before getting into the number, let me give you also an update about the situation of the COVID-19 in our company. We have brought, since the beginning of September, back to our office all our staff, and with the implementation of the Green Pass, we even increased the numbers of the person present in our offices. At least we have person present at least for 2 days a week, and this number will grow until the end of the year, increasing the presence of our personnel in the company. Now let's take a look at the results. So I'm going to page number 2. And there is a summary of the result: revenues, EBITDA, EBIT, and net income. And despite the effect of the Delibera 5570, that represent another 6 million reduced due to the X factor, we were able to report a strong growth in the first 9 months. And that is mainly driven by our significant RAB growth. And the RAB growth is mainly thanks to the investment we concluded last year and the year before. We have also noticed higher revenues coming from service to clients, and that is what we expected, considering that last year we were, you know very well, we were limited by the services we were able to provide to our customers due to the lockdown. On the contrary, we have recorded very little tariff adjustment in respect of previous year. All in all, that has resulted in a net income growth that is double-digit in respect of last year result. Let's move to page number 3. We recorded again another number in terms of investment, 613 million euro, higher in respect of last year by 10%, mainly driven, we will get into details in a moment, mainly driven by digital transformation and network repurposing. Our operating cash flow also was up by 21% in respect of the 9 months of 2020. I should recall everybody that during the first 9 months of 2020, we put a big effort in supporting our supplier, and therefore we had an impact in 2020 negative in terms of cash flow. Now we are back to the normal operation, and that's one of the reasons why our cash flow is higher than last year. Net debt increased, but it's a seasonal increase, so it's something that we expect. we reached 5 billion euro of debt. And of course, that is due to the very high capex investment that we put in place in the first 9 months. But before getting into the details of the economic number, let me say, we included also number about the ESG KPI. Is the second time. The first time we presented was in June with the result of the first semester, and now we are using this approach every quarter. So every quarter you will see also the ESG KPI numbers. So we are going to, in page 4, there is the scope 1 and scope 2 emissions in comparison to the last year, and the following page we will look at the energy consumption. As let me say, as overall, we have seen a slight increase in the scope 1 and 2 emissions, but we need to look more carefully about this number. The reason being is that we have seen in the first 9 months of 2021 a significantly increase in the gas injected into the grid, plus 11%. That is a huge number if you think about. So, considering the increased volume, we have in fact recorded less leakages than last year. It's a remarkable number. The fact that the gas leaked over the gas injected is at 0.092% in reduction in respect of last year by 4%. And in fact, all other KPI relevant, like the gas leaked per meter surveyed, is down by 7%. So that is the main driver of the increase of greenhouse gases emission is the fact that the volume of the gas injected significantly increased in respect of last year. Regarding civil industrial consumption and vehicles, the increase is negligible, and regarding the vehicles, the increase is mainly driven by the higher kilometers that our fleet did during the first 9 months, and mainly because last year, for many months, everybody were in lockdown. The good thing is that the use of CNG moved from 84% to 92%, and the result is particularly significant in the reduction in the particulate per kilometer that is down by 23%. And you know very well how it is dangerous, the particulate emission, in particular in the big cities. If we look at the energy consumption, so on page 5, again, we see a similar picture. The only driver of increase is the vehicles. As already explained, 15% more of kilometer traveled was reflected into 40% increase of energy consumption, while the other element, either they show negative, so reduction, or negligible increase. Again, if we look at the numbers that are considering the volume of the gas injected, that is increased by 11%, you will see that the gas heat for pre-heat consumption is the same of last year. Normally, if you increase the volume of gas injected, also the increase of gas, you normally have an increase of gas for pre-heat, but in that case it didn't happen because we put in place new equipment that was able to reduce the amount of gas needed. And you can see also that the net electricity, despite less smart working in respect of last year, the office management increased in terms of better management, reducing the electricity need. So let's go back to our economic numbers. So on page 6, we show you the breakdown of the capex. As you can see, and is a trend that was already clear in the first 6 months of this year, we have an increased investment in digital transformation, digitization of the network, and repurposing of the network itself. Despite, in the case of digitization, despite the fact that the amount of smart meter replaced is significantly lower than last year, we are struggling just to replace the last, let's say, 100,000 of smart meter left, traditional one, that of course, can you imagine, are probably the most difficult to be replaced, because maybe we don't find people available for replacement. Those are maybe in houses that are not for the full year occupied by the person. Sardinia, we show a decrease. Again, the reason being is that the Sardinia network is getting closer to the completion. We have reached 900 kilometers of native digital network. I should remind you that our objective is 1,100 kilometers, so we are very close to that. In general, in terms of new pipes, we were able to add during the 9 months more than 500 kilometers of new pipes. The correct number is 545 kilometers. And we replace 645,000 old meters with new smart one. If we skip the page and move to page 7, it's a page that you have already seen in the first 6 months. It's the bridge between reported number and adjusted. The difference, again, is the cost of the bond buyback that happened in February. So nothing new in respect of the first 6 months. So I'm not commenting this more than that. Let's look at the overall profit and loss account on page 8. The comparison is between the first 9 months of 2020 adjusted with the first 9 months of 2021 adjusted. As already anticipated, despite the effect of the Libera 570, 6 million less in respect of 2020. The higher revenues are mainly driven by the RAB growth, nearly 15 million euro, additional client services, 11 million euro, and that's new in respect of the first 6 months, higher contribution of the energy efficiency company, Seaside, more than 10 million euro in respect of last year. Overall operating expenses decreased by 2.7%. We will analyze that in detail. Regarding depreciation and amortization, tax rate, it's an area that will be explained in a moment by Gianfranco. As I said before, all these resulted in a robust increase of more than 10% in reported net profit for the first 9 months. Let's take a look at the revenue that are described in page 9. As I said, we had a very strong growth driven by the RAB. It is nearly 15 million euro out of the 21 that you see in the first column. Then we have other regulated service revenues increased by a combination of factors. The major factor is the services to the end customers, 11 million more, and that is, I would was expected compared to the 2020. Remember that we had many months in which we were not able to provide any services except the minimum one. The other good element is that the incentive regarding gas leakage increased by more than 2 million euro. And that is, let me say, is the economic effect of what I told you before about the fact that the gas leaks per kilometer surveyed significantly decreased by 7%. And that's the reason why our incentive on the other side increased by 2.2 million. The rest of the business contributed by more than 14 million of incremental revenues, out of which 12 million are coming from energy efficiency, so from seaside, and Gaxa. Gaxa, you know, it's our company in Sardinia selling natural gas and LPG. I would underline in particular the acceleration that happened in the third quarter, so in this quarter, by our energy efficiency business is something that we have been working hard during the first 6 months, pushing in particular what is called the 110% bonus. And now we are starting getting the first results. We will see in the last quarter even a bigger result. All these numbers were offsetting by 6 million of the Delibera 570 is the X-Factor application. And the other one is that in 2020, we recorded very high adjustment tariff that it represented in 2020 around 15 million euro. The following page, by page 10, you see the same description of the revenues as the usual table divided between distribution, tariff contribution for meter replacement that is in line with last year, and the other distribution revenue that I have, and the other revenues that I have just commented. Let's take a look on the cost side. So let's go to page 11. As I said before, overall expenses decreased by 2.7%. So you can say, well, it's a nice result. I would say that probably it is the result, the sum of two different situations. The first one, a significant cost reduction, what we call like for like, 4.5% in respect of 2020. So 11.8 million euro is the reduction we recorded in the first 9 months. And from the other side, we recorded an increase of cost in the energy efficiency business. Remember what I told you before, we had a significant increase in revenues, and of course we are having also a significant increase in cost. And if you compare the two numbers, there is a margin higher than 20%. So significant margin that is, let me say, usual for this industry. Finally, we recorded lower energy efficiency certificate by nearly 4 million euro. Looking at the following page, that is the table of the cost, it's a different perspective. So you look at this cost based on the sector. So in the upper part, there is the distribution, the cost related to gas distribution. So either the net labor cost and the net external cost. And as you can see, both of them are showing significant reduction in respect of last year, despite the growing perimeter. And then all the other activity, so mainly, mainly the energy efficiency activity are reported down, and in that case you see a significant increase, but again I'm stressing the fact that we have seen a very huge increase in revenues. And then of course you have the energy efficiency certificate and the concession fees that show a small increase, but the small increase is mainly driven by our investment. Our investment increased the RAB increased the revenues, and because our concessions are linked to the revenues, then you expect also an increase on the concession fees. Now, I will let Gianfranco take the floor and providing explanation about the remaining part of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Paolo. We are now on slide 13, looking at the EBIT. EBIT in the 9 months reached 431 million euro, up 7.3% year-on-year. As you can see, there are two main elements in this increase. The first pillar is the increase in the EBITDA of 34.7 million euro, due to an increase in the revenues of 27.7 and lower costs, lower OPEX for 7 million euro that we have already commented previously. The other element is an increase in the D&A pillar of 5.5 million euro, which is mainly driven by 16 million euros of higher network depreciation, which counts around 12 million euro, and the remaining is metering and ICT depreciation in the last 12-month investments. Then we have a drop of 14 million euro in accelerated depreciation for meters replacement. We move now to slide 14, commenting the net income. Adjusted net profits after minorities reached 274 million euros, up 10.5%. Net adjusted financial expenses were 40 million euro, excluding, of course, the 6.4 million euro of the liability management upfront costs. This positive change in the net financial expenses compared to the last period is the result of a lower cost of debt that now is a touch below 1%, combined with a higher average gross debt. Income from associates increased mainly of 1.1 million euro, mainly due to GESAM Reti for 0.8 million euro. We have then adjusted income taxes of 106 million euro, with a tax rate of around 27%. The tax rate is slightly below last year levels, mainly thanks to the positive effect of fiscal benefits related to depreciation, super and deeper. On slide 15, we can comment on the cash flow. Cash flow from operation amounted to 534 million euro, generated by a net profit of 282 million euro, group and minorities, and the net impact of depreciation and other non-cash items for 270 million euro. Working capital was slightly negative for 19 million euros. About the working capital contribution to the cash has been positively impacted by the billing seasonality of our business for around 58 million euro. On the negative side, we reported lower net trade payable for 44 million euro and higher white certificate receivable for 35. As you can see, these effects can be considered temporary, and we expect a neutral working capital position at year-end. The net cash generated allowed us to almost cover the effort in technical investment that absorbed around 591 million euro carried out in the 9-month period. Dividend payment of 241 million euro explains most of the change in net debt of 302 million euro, as usually happens in these quarter figures. Finally, to explain the net debt change reported in the 9 months, we have to add to the 302 million euro of net debt 16.5 million euro of debt assumed with the acquisition of Italgas 33. Moving to slide 16 and commenting our debt structure. The debt structure at the end of September highlights a low interest rate exposure together with a very extended duration. I remind that our bond average tenor is 7 years, and on top of that, we benefit from the tenor of the EIB loans expiring up 2037. As already highlighted last July, our refinancing needs are now very low, thanks also to the liability management of last February. We are currently working to get ready to take advantage of sustainable financing options, as demonstrated by the 2 fixed-rate ESG-linked loans, 3 years tenor, recently closed for a total of 500 million euro. On top of that, on the other side of the balance sheet, we maintain a significant amount of cash and cash equivalents for around 700 million euro, available on bank accounts and time deposits with leading financial institutions. As a result, notwithstanding the increased volatility in the financial markets, the company can continue to leverage on one of the lowest average cost of debt of 1%. Now moving on the slide 17 and the balance sheet. On that, simply the net invested capital amounts to almost 7 billion euro, with an increase of almost 365 million euro compared to the end of 2020. Most of this is due to fixed capital increase of 293 million euros, driven by CapEx almost 630 million euros that we have already commented. On the liability side, consolidated net debt was 4,987 million euros, excluding the IFRS 16 impact, which is 68 million euros. So with an increase of 327 million euro compared to the year end of 2020. Now I hand over to Paolo.
Thank you, Gianfranco. And we are toward the end to open the questions, the floor for the question. But before doing that, I would like just to close with few remarks. The first one, that is a great remarks, you have already read it several times on the newspaper, is that we have been selected as a preferred bidder for DEPA infrastructure that happened in early September. The process of that will get us to closing is moving on, and we expect, or we hope to have the closing by year end, maximum beginning of January. Results that we have just showed to you has shown for another time, or better for 19 times, our strong industrial capability, and that is the second quarter in which we reported the environmental performance that is not very usual in the market, in particular in our industry. We are waiting to receive, we are waiting for the publishment of the second consultation document by ARERA. This should happen in the next couple of weeks. And of course, we confirm our overall targets for 2021.
We are now open for the Q&A. Operator, please.
Yes, this is the operator. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their telephone. To remove yourself from the question queue, please press star and 2. Please pick up the receiver when asking questions. Anyone who has a question may press star and 1 at this time. The first question is from Harry Weber of Bank of America. Please go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks very much for taking my questions, 3 of them. So firstly, and I apologize if you've mentioned this before, but I don't think it was covered on the call. Could you give us an expected level of net debt at year end this year, assuming that the DEPA transaction closes by then. I don't recall whether you mentioned that on the DEPA call, but I don't think you did. The second is, what's your appetite like for domestic acquisitions after DEPA? So does your balance sheet still have headroom to pursue small bolt-on acquisitions in distribution? And then the third one's on the regulation. So I just wondered whether you'd had any updated discussions with the regulator and when you expected the next regulatory update to be published. I believe it was due to be in October, and then whether you think the gas crisis will alter the potential outcome here. So do you think the regulator is going to be more reluctant to give you a good allowed return just because of the focus that we have on affordability everywhere in Europe at the moment? Thank you.
So, if I well understood, you are requesting which is our expectation for the net debt, not considering the acquisition of DEPA.
Including the acquisition, if it closes by year end, which I believe is the aim.
Let me say, okay, I will tell you, and then if it's not satisfied to you, you can reply. We expect to stay below 5 billion euro by year end, not considering the expenditure for DEPA, because even though the closing will happen by year end, maybe by year end, beginning of January. Which is our appetite for domestic acquisition? The appetite is there. We still have room in our balance sheet to provide domestic acquisition. So we confirm our interest. We confirm our interest in domestic M&A, also considering the fact that, and that will be updated in the next industrial plan, the fact that tenders are at another time, the tender time schedule has been delayed. So we don't see what we expected to happen in 2021-22 may probably be further delayed. So the domestic acquisition, we are very much interested, and we have room in our balance sheet. Regarding the regulation, as I said before, we expect the second consultation document in maximum a couple of weeks, maybe a week time. The second consultation document, as you know, reflect the first consultation document issued by the ARERA and all the comments, evaluation provided to ARERA by the different stakeholders. So not only by the gas distribution operator, but also by customers, by institution, whoever wants to write about that, it is welcome, and the regulator will consider and will issue its point of view based on that. You connected, and the connection does not exist, the regulation decision with gas crisis. I have to remind you what was the weight of the distribution. Let me use cost into the gas bill. It was before the gas crisis, or better, before the increase of the gas price commodity, it was around even probably less than 10%. So with the previous gas commodity price, we have not made the calculation now, but with the increase of gas commodity price, that percentage is going even down. So honestly, there is no connection. First of all, let me say, from an official point of view, there is no connection between the two. Honestly, I don't see, let me say, any significant impact on the gas bill just by the cutting of the WACC. That is what you didn't say, let me say, straightforward. That is what I understood. There is no benefit from that point of view. On the contrary, a significant cut in the WACC may result in all the sector, not only ours. So gas distribution, electricity distribution, gas transportation, electricity transportation, in maybe a significant investment plan reduction. And let me say, I have mentioned right at the beginning, the Delibera 570 that started to produce effect at the beginning of 2020 has already accrued only for Italgas. If you remember, in 2020 we recorded revenue reduction by 45 million euro, combination of all what was contained in the Delibera. And then this year we are going to record another 8 million reduction. So the 45, it's already, let me say, also in the number of 2021. So the effect of the Delibera only of us in 2 years has been 45, 2020, 53, 2021, and the X factor will continue to produce effect also in 2022 and onwards up to 2025. So I think we are giving back to the system our ability to reduce the cost. So I think we have already given what we achieved in 2018 and before. We are giving back to the system in reducing our revenues.
Got it. That's very clear. Thank you.
Next question, please.
The next question is from Javier Suarez of Mediobanca. Please go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, and thank you for the presentation. 3 questions. The first one is on the recently signed Ready for Hydrogen initiative. Most of the European largest gas DSO has signed this initiative. So you can give an update on the reason why this initiative has been signed, the role that this may have to promote the higher investment on the gas distribution network to help with decarbonization, the impact that this may have in a company like Italgas, and any conversation with the European Commission on this front. Any update on that would be very helpful. The second one is on the Italian regulation or modern regulation discussion with the new administration. I think that the CEO has mentioned that during his presentation. Still, there is no actions in the tender, so significant actions in the tender. So the question for you is, on your conversation with the government and administration, what do you think is more likely to happen that could materialize in a significant increase or acceleration in the auctioning process? And if that not happen, and that is maybe linked to the one of the previous questions, if you may substitute that lack of tenders with a more proactive M&A strategy. And the final thing is on cost cutting. I think that you mentioned during the presentation that operating costs are down by minus 2.7%. That I think is significant. If you can give us a guidance by the year end. Thank you.
I'm a little bit surprised to hear from the first question why we should be involved in the hydrogen. Come on, I mean, the gas distribution network is by far the most extensive one, by far in respect of transportation. If you don't involve the gas distribution network, you will never be able to develop a hydrogen economy. First point, general statement. Second point, hydrogen, you need to think about not 2 years from now, but maybe 10 years from now, when there will be a lot of renewable capacity and there will be capacity that is decentralized. Source of energy produced by these renewable can be converted into hydrogen production and normally you don't have a centralized hydrogen production. On the contrary, you have a decentralized hydrogen production. You need to have the gas network distribution ready to accept hydrogen. Third and last, just to be very, very, very short, that is the position of the European Commission. We have talked several times with Kadri Simpson. We have talked with Franz Timmermans' cabinet. We have talked with different other European Commission representatives. And all of them are just saying, by 2050, 40% of the energy will be supplied by gas. Different gases, low carbon, renewable gases, hydrogen. But they also said to achieve that objective, we need to have networks, talking about gas distribution network, flexible, smart and digital, to be able to handle all those gases. And that's the reason why. So those are the reason why all the DSOs in Europe have signed an agreement, the one that you mentioned, because we are working all together to study and to test the hydrogen in our networks, to be ready by the time or by the year in which we will be in the hydrogen economy. But we will never be there if the gas distribution network will not be ready to accept hydrogen and other gases. On the tenders, honestly, I can always repeat my answer that I gave many times. There are blocking element about the tenders, we know very well, and until those blocking roads are not removed, then the tenders process will go slow and slow. I imagine that the application of the Delibera Zero that is in place already by the second year, and any kind of reduction of work that the regulator will put in place will increase the pressure toward the small operator. And therefore, we expect some M&A opportunity to happen. Regarding the cost cutting that you have mentioned, we have reduced on a like-for-like basis, as I said before, our cost by nearly 12 million, 4.5% less. I mean, you look surprised about our ability to reduce the cost, but we have been able to do that for 19 quarters. And as I explained, this is the result of the digital transformation we put in place. The fact that we are able to handle the smart meters remotely. The fact that thanks to the digital equipment we put in place and thanks to the heavy investment we made in the last year, now our network requests less maintenance than before, even if it is even more safety than the past years. So, I mean, we cannot identify one single element to explain the cost cutting. The list is very long, and the list is driven by the fact that our attention on the cost is extremely high, and digital transformation that we put in place is helping to even further reduce the cost. So there is no, I mean, we have not say, okay, we have cut, I don't know which one things in our company. That is not true. That is what we have done at the beginning of this journey. Now we are working hard on any element of our cost, and we are supported by the digital tools that we put in place I will give you just a small example, just to give you the idea where all this cost reduction is valuable. When we have replaced all our personal computer with the Mac, we have seen the first quarter, in the first, let me say, 3 months, an incredible decrease in terms of calls in our center to help our internal customer. And that has been a result in cost reduction. We didn't have to have so many calls to fix the problem on the computer. So again, that is maybe it's a very small example, but an example how the digital stuff that we put in place is helping us to reduce the cost. Thank you.
Next question, please.
The next question is from Enrico Bartoli of Stifel. Please go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, and thanks for taking my questions. I have two left. One is related to the revenues increase that you reported in 9 months related to the energy efficient business. If you can provide us some details of the drivers for this increase and what you expect over the coming quarters, and particularly the opportunities that you see in this business for Italgas, and if you are considering also some additional M&A in terms of increasing the size of the energy efficiency within your business portfolio. And the second one, I would like to go back to the question of Javier regarding the gas concessions. Actually, as you mentioned, the process for the tenders is not starting again, despite the simplification decree that was approved by the government. If you can give some flavor of the discussion that you and the industry as a whole is having with the government for additional measures, considering that I think that on many sides there are complaints that so far the measure approved were not effective. Thank you very much.
So on the first one, on the energy efficiency, 2021 has represented for us a big change in the energy efficiency business. The previous year we had a significant titles, let's call energy efficiency certificates, still available from the past years. In 2021 they went practically to zero, so they ended up their life. On the other hand, we didn't have any of the, let's call super bonus, let's call it super bonus activity in 2021, and the majority of that materialized in the third quarter. Just to give you an idea, that we had in the first 9 months, mainly in the third quarter, more than 11 million euro of revenues coming from the super bonus activity. We have still in our pipeline a lot of activity. Just to give you an idea, our portfolio consists of about more than 150 million euro of potential contracts. So it's a significant number. We will see which are it's a portfolio that will not materialize completely, because maybe the time needed to get to to respect the timeline given by the government may not be met, so we will abandon that project. Maybe the project will be abandoned by the promoters. But still, if you think about that, we have 160 million euro of potential portfolio. They give you the idea of the magnitude of the activity created by the super bonus. And we are focusing on that. Regarding the M&A, as you know, we are getting close to the closing of the Ceresa transaction that will add another, let me say, piece of the energy efficiency, especially to what we call the condominium. Ceresa is a well-established energy efficiency company in the northwest of Italy, and the main customers that Ceresa has are the condominium. That was, let me say, something that we didn't have either in Seaside or Toscana Energia Green. So they are adding a new, let me say, business area, and the condominium are the kind of customer to which the super bonus is particularly interest. Regarding the tenders, really, I don't have any more words to say. It's difficult because, let me say, the key elements the key elements that are blocking the tender process is clear. It was also clear the solution. We need to wait to have the solution in place before saying something more. Really, to me, honestly, I cannot add any flavor in respect to what I have told you several times. Era tutto, no?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Next question, please.
The next question is from Stefano Gamberini of Equita. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everybody. 3 questions also from my side. The first, according to the press recently, it emerged that several countries supported the possibility that the gas might be included in the taxonomy regulation, and probably the European Commission should issue a new document by year-end. I don't know if you have some thoughts about this and what do you expect on that. The second question regarding also a regulation topic. The Italian regulator said that had many meetings with the operators on the WACC, so I don't know if you could share with us what were your main comments on the first consultation paper with the regulator in order to have an idea of what could happen in the next consultation paper. And the last one is just an update on Naples, the situation on Naples tender, what is happening after your challenge to the administrative court. Many thanks.
Stefano Gamberini, you don't believe me.
Yes, I believe
I always told you that the gas is going to be part of the taxonomy. Now you're asking me my comments about the fact that you have read. I would say I told you many times in the past. You did not believe me, and now you're asking me a question. I always said that gas is essential in the transition, in the energy transition, and infrastructures are essential in the transition, of course, but also in the future. So, and I always told you many times, talking about taxonomy, that based on the conversation that I had with the European Commission, if we do the investment, the right investment in the gas infrastructure, they should be recognized as a taxonomy compliant, because those investments will help the infrastructure to support the energy transition. On the regulation, there has been one meeting open to everybody between the regulator and all the stakeholders. We provided to the regulator all our comments. My position is that if the regulator will reduce the WACC with a significant number, we may have effect on our investment. And we are just waiting for the second consultation document to be published, to read what they have received as a comments by not only by us, but by our industry, by other stakeholders, and see how they have reacted to the comments that they have received. To Napoli, they just told me that there should be the first round has been issued. The first, let me say, yes, the first round has been issued. Has not been in favor of us. But for me, it is like a football match. A football match, they have a first time, and the first time is finished. We are going to have a second time. Then normally, if you end up to be 1-1, you will continue with a supplementary, and then there will be the rigori, the extra time, and then there will be the final penalties to be 3. So it's going to be long. I'm still confident, and maybe you don't believe me, like in the past, Stefano Gamberini. I'm still confident that our offer is the best. But then I'm waiting for the final judgment. I'm not commenting the interim one.
Okay, just like a clarification, because your challenge was the regional administrative court. So there were some issue from them, because I think,
yes,
if I understood correctly, you are waiting for the.
We just received from the Court of Naples the documents. It's 40 pages, so I didn't read it at all. Just read it. I normally go to the top, to the end, to see which is the result. That is not in our favor.
Okay.
Having said that, that is just the first time of a long football match.
Many thanks.
Next question, please.
As a reminder, if you wish to register for a question, please press star and 1 on your telephone. The next question is from Roberto Ranieri of Intesa Sanpaolo. Please go ahead.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. A very quick question on the M&A outlook in the regulated business, in the gas distribution business in particular. My question is if you see any changes of opportunities. I mean, the delibera on the X factor probably could be very negative for small operators, but probably the small operators need time to realize that on their P&L, and also other drivers could be also some like probably the difference between the industrial value and RAB value, if any. So I'm wondering, firstly, if there are also other drivers like the WACC revisions, for instance, which could make some shake on the small operators, opening opportunities for you and in the M&A. And my second question is if you are experiencing a kind of changing of scenario in this field. Thank you very much.
Let me say, we had, I got the first question. The second one, the line was terrible, and so I got, let's say, 50% what you said. So maybe I'm going to respond to the first question, and then the second one, maybe you can repeat.
Okay. I will repeat.
No, I will respond to the first question first.
Yeah.
You know, on the M&A gas distribution, as I said before, let's see also the outcome of the WACC of the regulation, so of the revision of the WACC. It may have a significant impact on the small medium operators, and that will, if you remember that the small operator they have a X factor equal to 7-point-something% reduction every year. So 2021 minus 7% and 7-something. I don't remember exactly the numbers in comparison to our 3.53%. So 2 times our cost X factor reduction. And then 2022, there will be another 7 point something reduction. And if you add that also a potential WACC reduction, then to me is going to create significant potential opportunity in the M&A. On the second question, I have lost your question. So if you can repeat, it would be easy.
Of course. No, actually, the first question is if there are any. You answered my first question, which was about any additional drivers for an M&A new season, also for Italgas, and that's very clear. My second question is if this new season for an M&A higher activity in Italy is started or not. That's it.
No, answer is no.
Okay. So
sorry, I didn't get your question before. It was very easy. No, we didn't see any of them.
Okay, and so basically you mean that probably everyone is waiting for the new delivery for the WACC revision. Is that correct?
Yes, also because when considering some M&A activity today with the WACC review by the regulator, you should take into account that. I mean, it is clear that something will be changed. How much will be changed and how it will be changed, that is not clear. So that you need doing an M&A transaction today means that you need to take a position about, to take your internal position about what is going to happen to the WACC to make your own evaluation.
Okay, thank you.
I'm with you. Probably they are waiting to have a clear picture about WACC before moving forward.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Next question, please.
The next question is from James Brand of Deutsche Bank. Please go ahead.
Hello, and good afternoon. I only have one question, and that's kind of on the review, but the one aspect of the review that obviously everyone's focusing on is what happens to the base returns. But the other aspect to your regulatory framework that's absolutely key is the incentives. And I understand that Snam and Terna are expecting some new incentives to be coming through by year end. And I just wondered what your expectations are there. Are you also expecting the regulator to introduce some new incentives for gas distribution by year end or not? And is there anything coming up that you think could be meaningful around incentives ahead of, obviously we're kind of expecting TOTEX to be coming in maybe 2024 or something in a few years' time. But is there anything else we should have our eye on that might be coming up and that you might be able to benefit from? Thank you very much.
Regarding the incentive, honestly, we don't have a clear time frame. It should be either by year end or most probably by early 2022. The regulator has, with consultation document, has identified a number of incentives to be given to certain projects, for example, relevant to digital transformation or relevant to flow, inverting the flow, or better, projects that are studying the inversion of the flow in the gas distribution, just to give you a couple of examples. So there are certain areas that will be that may be incentivized. They will be incentivized by the regulator. We don't know if it's going to if it's going to happen by year end. But for example, on the digital, we have already applied. We have developed so many projects in the digital transformation that we have a long list that we have applied to the regulator. L'altro cos'era già? That's it. Yeah.
Can I just ask? That's very interesting. Is it to early to really say anything about how material those incentives could be? We just need to wait for those, or should we expect them to be meaningful incentives that could make a tangible difference to the bottom line, or not?
Those incentives are, for what is referring to gas industry, are referring to projects. So we are talking about few million. We are not talking about huge impact on our economic and profit and loss account.
Okay, thank you very much.
Rita, are there any further questions?
For any further questions, please press star and 1 on your telephone. We have another question from Bartek Kubicki of Societe Generale. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon. 3 questions, I think, from my side. Firstly, I mean, something which is now being a concern to investors is the supply chain, and I would like to ask you whether you have any issues with the supply chain right now in Italy. Secondly, if I look at the meters you are still replacing, there's a lot of faulty meters you are replacing, and I wonder if you may change your view on provisions on the faulty meters replacement you did at the end of last year. And lastly, there should be 2 things at least ongoing in terms of sort of negotiations, court issues. One is on the X factor and the OPEX cut as of the beginning 2020. I remember you were supposed to actually, I think, go to the court with this one. And I wonder what is the result, or where are we with this respect? And secondly, how are your negotiations with the regulator with respect to receiving additional compensation for the faulty meters replacement?
Regarding the first question, honestly, we didn't have any significant supply chain problems. Maybe for the kind of material we are procuring, some limited delay on some digital equipment, but very limited. I mean, not really. I would probably say negligible. So as of today, and we do not expect anything in the future, we didn't see any impact on the procurement side about what you can see, for example, in other industries. On the second question, faulty meters, the numbers that we replaced this year is in line with the provision that we allocated last year. So it's consistent. So nothing better, nothing worse. Regarding, we are going to request to the regulator additional compensation for them. Is something that we are putting together the number, and once that we will have a complete picture, we will analyze that complete picture, and then we will make a decision about that. Regarding the challenge that we brought to the court about the Delibera 570 is progressing very slowly, but is progressing. There are, let me say, third-party experts that have been appointed by the court to examine all the documentation. So we expect to receive some position by these third-party experts. So the things are moving, as not very fast, but even they are not stopping. So the third-party expert appointed by the court are working with the expert from our side, and with the expert, of course, from the regulator side and from the other operators that are involved in this challenge. So let's see. We don't have a deadline for the court to reconvene and analyzing the result of this work carried out by the third-party expert.
Okay, thank you very much. Very clear.
Rita, are there any further questions?
At the moment, we don't have other questions. So if you want to ask a question, please press star and 1 on your telephone. Ms. Scaglia, gentlemen, there are no more questions registered this time.
Okay, so many thanks. As IR, we thank you for participating in the call, and we will be available if you have any follow-up by phone. Thank you.